Welcome back. Today we are going to finish reviewing for our Chapter 1A test, focusing for the most part at the beginning here on word problems. Remember that we are requiring that you set up an equation first and that you define your variable. It says when 4 times the number is subtracted from 7 times the number, the result is 27. What is the number? So we're going to let x equal the number that we're looking for. It says when 4 times a number, which is our x, so we have 4 times x, when that amount is subtracted from, so we actually have to subtract this from something else, okay? Then we're saying we're subtracting it from 7 times that same number, so we're subtracting it from 7x, and our result is 27. Combining like terms, we've got 3x equaling 27. And then dividing, we've got x being a 9. Our second question says when 20% of a number is subtracted from the number, the result is 28. What is the number? So again, I'm going to let x equal the number I'm looking for. 20% of the number would look like that. 0.2 or 0.20, 20% of x is subtracted from the actual number x. And our result then is 28. Now be careful here. We have a whole x. We're taking away 2/10 of an x. That leaves us 8/10 of an x, being 28. When we divide that out, we end up with x equaling 35. Question 3, it says a computer repair shop charged a customer $271 to repair a laptop. The bill listed $91 for parts and the remainder was for labor. If the cost of labor is $45 per hour, how many hours of labor did it take to repair the car? So we're going to let x equal our number of hours, since that's what they're asking us to find. And our total bill is based on the labor and the parts. So for the labor, we are being charged $45 per hour and we are using x hours of time. So 45 times x would be the amount of labor that we're being charged for. Then it says we had to pay $91 for the parts. That's just a flat fee of $91. And our total bill was $271. Okay, so we have the labor plus the parts to equal the total. Subtracting 91 would leave us with 180, and then when we divide, we get x being 4. So to answer the question, how many hours did it take to repair the computer? We have 4 hours. The length of a rectangular room is 9 feet longer than twice the width. If the room's perimeter is 186 feet, what are the room's dimensions? My first recommendation is to go ahead and sketch a picture. We have a rectangular room. It says the length is 9 feet longer than twice the width. 9 feet longer than twice the width. So if we say that W equals width, then this side would be W, and our longer side, our length, is 9 feet longer, so we're adding 9. It's 9 feet longer than twice the width, so 2 times the width plus an extra 9 feet. The perimeter is 186 feet, but perimeter is 2 lengths plus 2 widths. We have to go all the way around the rectangle. So that 186 really represents 2 of these lengths, 2W plus 9, plus 2 of our widths. Distributing, we get 4W plus 18. Plus another 2W. Combining like terms, we have 6W plus 18. If we subtract the 18, we have 168. And if we divide 168 by 6, we get 28. So going back, and it's asking us for the dimensions of the room. So our width, we would say, is 28 feet. Our length is 9 more than twice that. So 2 times 28 plus an extra 9 ends up being 65 feet. All right, our next question says you win $42,000 in the lottery and decide to invest it in 2 stocks. One of the stocks pays 4% in dividends and the other pays 10%. How much should be invested in each stock if the total dividend earned for the year was $2,400? So we have $42,000 that we're going to split up. Some of it is going to go into a 4% fund, and some of it's going to go into a 10% fund. So if we say X stands for the amount in the 4% account, then what we have left to put in our 10% account is the total 42,000 minus whatever we already plugged into our 4% account. Okay, so we're going to define X to be the amount in the 4%, and 42,000 minus X is going to be the amount in the 10% account. So our equation says we get 4% of our X dollars, the money we put into that fund, and then we get 10% of the remainder. And our total dividend for the year was $2,400. All right, let's distribute to get rid of our parentheses. 10% of 42,000 would be 4,200 minus 10% of X. Combining like terms, we've got negative 0.06X. If we subtract the 4,200 to the other side, we end up with negative 1,800. And when we divide, we get X being 30,000. So again, let's go back and look at the question. It says how much should be invested in each of the stocks. So X being 30,000 means we put in $30,000 in the 4% stock, and the remainder, 42,000 minus 30,000, the remaining 12,000 is going to go into the 10% one. All right. Moving away from word problems, a couple other topics that we looked at in this first chapter. It says graph the solution and use interval notation to express your answer. So we have the interval from negative infinity up to almost 34, and we want to do a union with the interval including the 15 and up to infinity. All right, so a union means we want all of it. So picture on our number line, 15 would be here, 34 would be here. One of them is saying we want to go from 34, or almost 34, all the way towards negative infinity. The other one is saying we include 15 and we want to go all the way up to positive infinity. So when we look for what's shaded, it doesn't matter which color we used, we want all of the shaded part, it's including everything. So our answer to this one would be all real numbers, or we could say we want everything from negative infinity to infinity. If we were asked to graph that, we would simply just graph the whole line. All right. The next one is the same startup, however, it's an intersection, which means we just want the overlapping part. So our overlapping part, if we go back to our graph here, would be this part in here. Now, we have to pay attention to the rounded and the squared brackets. On the left, by the 15, we do have a squared bracket, which means it is included, and it's shaded in red as well, so we do include the 15. And we go up to 34, but for the red part, we did not include 34. It was a rounded bracket. So we have to say we're getting really close to 34, but not including it. All right, so our overlapping section is everything from 15 almost to 34. I'll color that in here. We want all of that. All right, our last question says to find the x and y intercepts, just to estimate them. So Our x-intercept is where we hit the x-axis, which would be right in here. Our tick marks, we're assuming, are going by ones. So we are somewhere between 4 and 5, a little closer to the 5. So I would estimate my x-intercept to be about 4, we'll say 4.7. And then my y-intercept is this point here, and it looks like we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, looks like we're at 5. So my y-intercept would be the 0.05. All right, and that is the end of our review.